There's a lot to be excited about when it comes to professional wrestling in 2019. But history offers up a lot of fascinating things to dive into also. Namely, one is the golden era of British wrestling. Hello, my name is Tubbs and welcome to Most Falls to Curfew. On the surface, old school British wrestling can be difficult to get into. It's a problem I ran into myself. Matches were fought in rounds, they were 2 out of 3 falls, the referees didn't drop to the mat to count, people were getting warned for ground strikes. What the hell was going on? I first stumbled upon a match in 2008 from the mid to late 80s. It featured Steve Wright, father of WCW star Alex Wright, wrestling in his Bull Blitzer persona. I got about halfway in before I shut it off and shook my head in confusion. But fast forward 8 years later to 2016. I'm 26 years old and YouTube randomly recommends a Marty Jones vs Dynamite Kid bout that completely blew me away. Now, what was it about this match that captured my imagination in a way that the Bull Blitzer match couldn't? Besides Marty Jones wrestling a style that is very much akin to two names you ought to be familiar with in William or Stephen Regal and Fit Finlay, it told a terrific story about the Dynamite Kid. Kid had just returned from his famous time abroad in Japan, Portland, and Stampede Wrestling, and this wove itself into the match wonderfully. Dynamite healed it up, claiming to have forgotten all about the Admiral Lord Mountavon rules of British wrestling in favor of the all-in rules of everywhere else. So the rounds, lack of ground strikes, etc. played into this match. Dynamite Kid had been wrestling elsewhere where such rules did not exist and used this to his advantage against Marty Jones. For a viewer such as myself with little clue as to what was going on, this match provided a ton of insight.
Dynamite Kid cannot quite understand why, because you must remember that when he wrestles in Japan and America, as he does so often, and as I said earlier, the Middle East, he wrestles under completely different rules, all-in rules, which is different altogether, and he probably gets in the heat of the moment, gets too excited and forgets himself on occasions.
We'll tackle the rounds first. Even as a big mixed martial arts fan, the idea of pro wrestling being fought in rounds didn't make a whole lot of sense to me until I saw it in action. And though there are deviations, such as 12 3-minute rounds, commonly used in title bouts, or 8 5-minute rounds, the most common setup you'll see is 6 5-minute rounds giving you 30 minutes of action and 5 minutes of rest. If you think of your typical 30-minute match, how much of that is filled up with rest holds? The old school British style is very grappling centric, so don't go into it thinking you're going to see straight sprints each round, because you won't. The use of rest period allows matches to build up naturally and break things apart without detracting too much from the action. Going back to the Jones and Dynamite match, there's a point at the end of the 5th round where Kid kicks Jones, then follows it up with a headbutt. The referee admonishes him for this, and Kid sticks out his hand at the beginning of the 6th round, apologizing, claiming not to have heard the bell. Of course, this is just a ruse to get Jones in close so he can kick him again. What a despicable heel, and it's a simple, effective way to get heat using the round system. In a more comedic tone, you also have Les Kellett, who claims to not have heard the bell at any point.
He won't make it back from there in time. But as always, of course, Kellett hasn't heard the bell.
Most of these matches are 2 out of 3 falls, a match type that you might be sick of if you're somehow able to stomach 5 hours of WWE programming each week here in the summer of 2019. Mixed with rounds, it might confuse a lot of you, but it's really quite simple. A pinfall or submission will end the round. A disqualification or knockout will end the match regardless of falls scored. A knockout is both a down inside the ring and failure to return to the ring. If a wrestler trails 1-0 in the final round, they have 2 options: score the tying fall and settle for a draw, or go for a knockout to win the match.
But in this last round, of course, Street, in order to get a win here, has got to get a knockout and a submission. Well, the equalizing submission in round 6 to Street. From that double arm left at the back there. He must have had it on really well to get a submission from that.
In regards to disqualifications, wrestlers will receive public warnings for various offenses. Once they've received 3 warnings, they're disqualified. Offenses include striking a downed opponent, biting, scratching, or pulling hair, failure to listen to the referee, holding the ropes, or pulling the tights, The striking a downed opponent is an interesting piece because I don't think you'll ever see anything like it in modern day wrestling. Basically, if a wrestler executes a flying mare then drop kicks an opponent immediately thereafter, it's fair game. However, if a flying mare happens and the wrestler backs up to the corner and charges back out for a knee drop, that's a no-no. I couldn't find anything that specifically states how long the grace period is between moves and a down is, but typically once you see the referee start counting a wrestler down, you know that the moves are now off limits. And thus, given the time it takes to ascend the ropes and jump off, moves off the top onto a down opponent are definitely out of question. And despite this golden era ending officially in 1988 when ITV canceled wrestling on its programs, the influence continues to be seen today. NXT UK has the general manager Johnny Saint, who wrestled during this time. There are British wrestlers who are clearly inspired by this style, such as Zack Sabre Jr. and Marty Scurll. There are American wrestlers who have adapted some of this into their arsenal, such as Chris Hero / Cassius Ohno, Mike Quackenbush, Colt Cabana. Chikara Pro honors this stuff each year with the Johnny Kidd Invitational, and every time you've ever seen Nigel McGuinness or Jon Moxley / Dean Ambrose do a rebound lariat, guess where that came from? So that's going to do it for this episode of Most Falls to Curfew. If you enjoyed, leave a like and comment below if you'd like to see me tackle any specific subjects or expand on something. I have some ideas in mind, but I'm always open to it. So in the meantime and between time, my name is Tubbs, and this is Most Falls to Curfew.